current state of the presidential election. Let's talk about it. Right now, it's looking pretty bad. It's looking like what I would refer to as the Geritol primary, because our choices are basically at this point Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Who else is relevant or viable, I guess is the word. It looks like RFK Jr. is surging in the polls, but does he really have a shot as an independent candidate? I don't know. I doubt it. But time will tell. So I wanted to show you this video really quick of Brianna Joy Gray, and this is just kind of a quick, most recent summation of what's going on in the presidential race. So let's watch this for a second.
Today, Donald Trump would win. According to a new survey from DataStack Strategy, Trump would beat Joe Biden in the Electoral College by 292 votes to 246 if a presidential election were held today. Biden is still on course to win the popular vote by 49% to 48%. In the wake of several recent bad polls for Biden, his team, along with other Democrats, are scrambling. The New York Times Siena College survey and Emerson College poll show Biden is effectively tied with former president and GOP frontrunner Donald Trump with 30 versus 29%. According to Emerson, 45% of voters 29 and younger said they support Trump, compared with 43% who are backing Biden.
White House ex-press secretary for Biden, Jen Psaki, tore into Trump Sunday in her MSNBC show, maintaining that if he's reelected, it would, quote, unravel the rule of law as we
Now, this is the part I really want to focus on right here. Listen to this.
know it. Let's watch.
The hand-wringing and cocktail party speculation about an alternative to Joe Biden is continuing, will continue. Guess what? Joe Biden isn't perfect. No candidate is, by the way. But we have to understand what the alternative is here. If elected to a second term, Donald Trump would prosecute anyone he deems an enemy, unleash troops on protesters, and essentially unravel the rule of law as we know it.
Here to break down the concern.
Okay, does she live in a cave? That is what I would refer to as a stunning lack of self-awareness, or SLOSA. Everything she just listed that Donald Trump would do if he gets elected is stuff that the Biden administration is already doing. The stuff that's going on with the Hamas Israel protest stuff, they are stomping protesters. I'm sure you've seen the video of the Jewish Voice for Peace people getting brutalized by the police. And we all told you this was going to happen after the January 6th BS, which we'll get into more in just a minute. But it is insane to see the MSNBC talking heads saying things like that. And that's the fear of Trump that they're trying to put in people. That's what they're going to run on, because they have nothing else to run on. And I like to use this term, stunning lack of self-awareness, SLOSA, which we will get to in our next bit. We're gonna focus heavily on it. But before we close this out, I just want to kind of give my current take on the presidential race, because it's evolved a lot. Out the gate, there I go with the again. Out the gate, obviously, I was a RFK fan, and then the Israel stuff happened. And I went, wow, what a joke that guy is. 5 minutes ago, he was the peace candidate. Now he's Mr. War when it comes to Israel and Palestine. And then Cornel West, I had so much hope for him. And I just put out this video recently from a previous stream talking about how his campaign is basically over. And it is, because he, for some reason, can't figure out that this, as Max Blumenthal called it, boilerplate, flowery language about white supremacy and feminism and gender ideology and all that stuff is not going to win you an election. But there is a lane right now for someone who has the balls and the intelligence to speak across party lines and talk to people that are disaffected on both the left and the right. And Cornel West missed that opportunity completely. And that's what Jimmy called him out for. Jimmy called him out like, why are you not talking to Trumpers? Why are you acting like Donald Trump is the problem when Joe Biden, the current president, is literally ruining everything he touches? And I think that was the point when, I started to lose faith in Cornel. And then after that, he went and appointed Peter Dow as his campaign manager and just went like right off a cliff. And now he's completely out of the race. Then Peter Dow, we all know the story. After Peter Dow tanked Cornel's campaign and got him out of the Green Party, so he has no ballot access, he got sick and left. And now he's maybe working for Jill Stein. I don't know the how the story ended completely because I just stopped paying attention. It got so sad. So we're at a point now where the viable choices are Trump, Biden, and maybe RFK Jr. And, if it's an election where it's those three choices, I got to admit, I'd probably vote for Trump or RFK Jr., depending on how the next few weeks shape up of the campaign. This is depending on whether I actually vote at all, because there's an argument to be made that electoral politics are meaningless. But, this is where we're at right now as far as the state of things. And not one candidate in this race that's viable has a good take on Israel. So at this point, I kind of have to just, do my due diligence and research this stuff, and just know that Trump and RFK and Biden all have terrible takes on Israel, and there's not much we can do about it but continue to protest and make our voices heard in the ways we can. It is sweet to see this Israel stuff happening, which we're going to go way into the weeds on in just a minute, because it is causing rifts and exposing people on both sides of the political aisle. You have gigantic rifts in both the left, or the Democrats and the Republicans, on this issue. And what it comes down to, which we'll see in a minute, is consistency. Because who's consistent with their views? Not a lot of people, very few people. You have the conservatives who 5 minutes ago were anti-war and anti-spending, going like, oh my God, I'm so emotional about Israel. We need to dump billions and billions of dollars into them so they can defend themselves by bombing the fuck out of Gaza. Looks a lot like self-defense. When I just run into a mall and with a machine gun and shoot lots of people, that's self-defense, right? Anyway, that's the state of the presidential race. It's looking more and more like it's going to be like Trump is going to be the choice. Even Michael Rappaport came out the other day and said if it was Trump and Biden, he would vote for Trump. And the only X factor here is how would Trump versus RFK actually handle, the Israel thing. Trump is a lot more, his rhetoric is a lot more pig-headed and belligerent. He seems a lot, but by the same token, there's so much other stuff. I honestly feel like one of the main reasons they're going so hard with the lawfare thing to keep Trump from getting back in is because of the COVID thing. Because if he gets in, there's going to be accountability, maybe some level of accountability for that, because they clearly hyped that to keep him out of office. Say whatever you want, but it forced everyone to vote by mail. It forced everyone out of the streets, so there couldn't be protests and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there still were anyway, let's be honest. January 6th and the BLM stuff. But that whole issue, now looking in hindsight, we can all see what happened now. And it's hard for me not to say, what, I think that they really cranked the lever on that into overdrive in the media and the press in order to make sure that they could get Trump out. And if he gets back in and they have to answer for that, I think that's one of the reasons you see, this insane level of like, oh, his real estate was overvalued. We got to put him in jail. So that's the state of the election. a lot of people think that Biden's going to get thrown out and that the Democrats are actually going to replace Biden. I don't think that's going to happen. Pending Biden dying, I really don't see him not being in the race this cycle. So really, I really do think it's going to be Trump and Biden. And we'll see. I think Russell Dobular from Dudesons has a great point that they're not going to let Trump run. It might not be Trump, Biden. It might be, Nikki Haley and Biden. And imagine that race. It's the same people. Nikki Haley is basically Joe Biden in a dress. She's a political long stay who kisses the ring of all the donors and does all that stuff. So that would be such a depressing race. At least Trump is upsetting the establishment uniparty people on so many other issues when if you rule out the Israel thing, which is what I'm kind of doing since they all have analogous views on the Israel-Palestine conflict.